OpenStack Demystified, a practical guide for VMware administrators. With who could this possibly be? Is that Damian Karlson? Oh my goodness, it sure is. Hey, Damian.
It is the one and only Damian Karlson on this V Brown bag right now.
Holy spicoli.
Yes, can you imagine?
we have certainly come full circle in this little show, haven't we? When V Brown Bag first got started, it was how to VMware, how to study for certifications, and then we expanded into all of the other things. But you know, the roots of it was all VMware, and now now we're like, how to GTFO.
Yes, that is actually a pretty common question that I hear people asking. How do we run away faster? So yeah.
So yes. This talk that you're about to give, it's heartbreaking that we have to give this talk because, you know, back in the day, this VMware was our bread and butter. I mean, this was the thing that we loved and appreciated. And I actually looked at my old work notes just for this show to see when was the last time that I touched vCenter, like in a production format, like for a customer, and it was vCenter 6.5.
Wow.
That was the last time that I actually like logged into a vCenter server and did things. What version are we on now in VMware? I don't even know. Is it 8?
VCF 9. Yeah.
Is it 9? Holy mackerel.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I imagine it probably looks the same, except maybe when you look at it, you have to like feed money into the screen every time. I don't know.
you legit have to actually like hook an IV up and bleed into the computer, yes. your lifeblood, to feed the Broadcom machine. Are we saying names? We're saying names. I don't care anymore. I'm so over it.
Yeah, we're saying names. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, this is a presentation that I submitted to the Open Infra Summit in Paris that happened over the weekend, which was the first time I'd been to a conference on a weekend. It was interesting. I didn't think that conference.
But it was in Paris, so hello, amazing.
Yes, it was pretty great. Also, very coincidentally, happened to be the same weekend as my wedding anniversary, so I was able to take my wife with me and
tell her we said happy anniversary from everybody in the audience.
Yep. Everybody,
including Fraps. Dave.
Yeah. I see Fraps on here. So for y'all longtime listeners, Jay Frapper's in the chat. He used to host the V Brown Bag.
He did
way back in the day. Yeah. So yeah, we actually got engaged in Paris. So going back to Paris for our anniversary was just really awesome timing. It was a good time. But you know, as the joke goes, I literally just got back from Paris today, and boy, my arms are tired.
My arms are tired.
Yeah.
Dave is asking if you heard about the jewelry heist, right, in the Louvre?
I did indeed, because literally everyone we know asked if I did it, and asked my wife if she did it. Like,
and now people you don't know. Game over, Dave. Nice. Good job, Dave.
We did not, and I actually have a very solid alibi. We were nowhere near the Louvre. We were actually south of Paris.
Wink.
Yes. Anyways, I got this sweet new crown. I think it looks awesome. Yeah. So yeah, this is a talk that I gave on Saturday. It was actually the last talk on Saturday. Which I was thinking, boy, no one's going to be there, because who wants to go to a 5 o'clock talk on a Saturday? But surprisingly, it was very well attended, and more people kept showing up throughout the talk. And right at the beginning of the talk, I actually asked the folks who were present then, who here is a VMware admin that is attending this conference because they need to learn OpenStack? And most of the room raised their hand, which I thought was really surprising.
Really? Why? I would have thought that I mean, the vast majority of the audience would be VMware admins who had been
Well,
edict.
well, that's what I was hoping that. I guess I was surprised that I was right. I was hoping that there would be people there who like, wow, I just got sent to go to this thing. I don't know WTF, anything about OpenStack.
Please help.
Yeah, out. So yeah, it went really, really well. I was really pleasantly surprised. So I hope this is good information for folks. Uh, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
What so when you talked to the showrunners, when the CFP was accepted and everything,
Mhm.
did they say anything about it? Were they like, oh yeah, this is very salient knowledge right now,
Mhm.
or was
Yes.
what was their reaction?
No, 100%. So I actually uh, was part of a working group earlier this year that helped kind of write this year's version of OpenStack for VMware admins, and that's kind of a white paper that you can get off of OpenStack's website.
Hmm.
And so OpenStack, the foundation, Open Infra Foundation, who's now part of ELF, right? So they're like under the Linux umbrella now. They were really focusing on getting those VMware administrators. And so Saturday, that day was what they were calling VMware Migration Day. And so the entire day, they had people coming up to talk about moving to OpenStack, whether it's converting virtual machines or understanding storage options that are available to you as an OpenStack uh, person versus VMware, because it's
Hmm.
a bit different. It's not black and white different, but there are some distinct differences, right? But yeah, it it fit very well in the theme. That was something that the foundation had been going for from the beginning. So I was very fortunate to have participated in it. I really enjoyed it. And what I was going into this when I was developing the presentation, I was thinking about. So I started working for my current employer at the beginning of this year, and we sell a product that is best of breed kind of open source components. One of them being OpenStack. And so I came into this role knowing not a damn thing about OpenStack. And so I was hoping that I could say, hey, as someone who lived in the VMware world and now, 10 months later, lives solidly in the OpenStack world, like this is what I know. This is, maybe some information that will help you kind of bridge that gap, because it can feel a little bit overwhelming. Uh, Especially because all the VMware things that people know, they all start with VMware, right? Like
Right.
VMware vSphere and VMware DRS and VMware HA. And on the OpenStack side, it's called Masakari and Watcher and Keystone. And it's like, well, what is all this about, right? It can be
Yeah.
just all the different names can be off-putting trying to understand how all those things fit together. And the foundation has done a really good job recently of uh, kind of defocusing the individual project names and focusing more on what those do. So,
Mhm.
like Nova is now the compute service, and Keystone is the identity service, right?
I thought
Because that's
Nova
more
was the network
meaningful.
service. No, okay.
No, that's Neutron.
That's neutral, of
It's
course.
Neutron. Yes, yes, the
Dadgummit.
networking service. Yeah. So yeah, it can be a little bit off-putting just as someone coming from a very highly, kind of vertically integrated, siloed piece of infrastructure software to the open source world where you can solve the same problem many different ways with many different tools. So anyway,
What?
yes, yes, yeah. So if you'd like, I can jump into this now.
Yeah, let's do this. I mean, I know that you are also like, fighting jet lag and everything. So I want to be cognizant of and respectful of your time.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So
Oops.
Chris was DMing me earlier today, and he was like, "Oh, the person that was going to present had to reschedule." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I can present this thing." And he was like, "You just like I literally walked into my house 5 hours ago," and I was like, heck it, let's do it anyways. Like, what does it matter? I got to stay awake a little bit longer before I should sleep anyways. So I might as
You're
well talk.
you're a true V brown bag believer, Damian.
I
Did,
am.
did,
I
did you
am.
notice the on how I put it in the show notes? The alluringly dressed Damian Karlson.
Oh no, I didn't. See,
I,
that's how much
I,
attention I was paying.
hold on. Let me see where I put it. Join our beloved co-host Damian Karlson. No, wait, no, it was LinkedIn where I put. Never mind. I'll get to it later. You will read it and blush later.
Oh, awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Huzzah!
Yay. So yeah, hi, I'm Damien. Everyone here should know who I am because I'm the only one that named Damien right now. So a little bit about me, just for those of you who may not know. I built my career on VMware, right? I took over as co-host of the V Brown Bag around maybe 2015, a year or two after Cody Bunch had started it. Cody was needing to kind of step away from the V Brown Bag because he was doing some continuing education around VMware, if memory serves, and needed someone to take over. And at the time, I really needed some additional ways to stand out within the already crowded technology fields 10 years ago. And so I said, hell yeah, I'll do the V Brown Bag. And so, that entire time, ever since 2015, and even before then, right? I was a VMware admin. I was doing all the certs. I'd been a V expert for a very long time. Uh, I did production administration. I worked for EMC and Dell as kind of a professional services product manager around VMware offerings. I worked for 5 years at VMware before the Broadcom acquisition, and I was laid off by Broadcom the day the acquisition closed, which was actually kind of the best thing that I think could have happened. Folks that have stayed have had mixed experiences. And I did put this down here at the bottom that opinions are mine and not Platform Nine's. That's the name of my company. Just in case I say something that's not technically politically correct, that's on me. So,
Oh, that's
anyways,
cool. I'll say them for you.
yeah. So
I'll be angry Damien.
yeah. This is still a family-friendly show, Chris. So you can't be too angry, Damien.
It's just the man keeping us down.
Yep. So the question is, why are organizations migrating, right? Like, what is kind of pushing folks to look at OpenStack? And there's a lot of different answers you give to this one. There's financial reasons, there's economic reasons beyond that, but mostly it's just Broadcom. And as a Broadcom shareholder, I can say this wholeheartedly: they're a bunch of greedy a-holes. They have effectively fired in a whole bunch of their channel. They fired a tremendous amount of customers. People are not able to renew their licenses. They have been threatened with vendor audits, et cetera, or at least there's been rumors of that, right? It's just been an entirely unpleasant experience. I think anyone who's been paying attention and who's worked with VMware software for a long time probably felt a little bit of um, identity in their VMware experience, right? Like, they're a VMware admin, they do VMware things, and Broadcom, I feel like, has just kind of walked away from a lot of that, right? Like, the VM user group, the VMUG experience is different now. The certification paths are more difficult. The ability to get software as a student is hard. Higher learning. I've talked to colleges in my day job that can't get VMware renewals and don't have any way of teaching their own students VMware software. So Broadcom is definitely like the definition of vulture capital, right? Like, they've chosen to do this, and it's worked out very well from them. Their stock split 10 for 1, and then it's up in the $350 a share range, right? Like, it seems to be a strategy that in the short term works. But for those of us who have to live their lives doing this as like how we feed our families, it can be difficult. So I think that there's basically three different changes that you need to navigate once you're thinking about moving from VMware to Broadcom. there's the technical one, right? Like, what is OpenStack? I don't understand any of these things. There's the operational one of how does it change my day job? And then also there's the cultural one, which I think is very, very closely aligned with the operational, but it goes beyond that, right? Like there's the processes, and then there's the people around that and how they think about that work. And those, while intertwined, are also two separate things. So how do we as an organization adapt? And more importantly, I think, and I think this kind of aligns with the purpose of the V Brown Bag, is how do I adapt, right? Like, this is why the podcast was created in the beginning, was like, hey, let's all study together. Let's all learn and grow together. And hopefully we're continuing to deliver on that promise. So technology, I hear from a lot of people that are looking at OpenStack. They're like, oh, we're a Windows shop. This uses Linux. I've done, I've been doing instructor-led teaching sessions as part of my day job for most of this year. And I've actually had to get away from anything that requires the use of SSH, because not everyone knows how to SSH into a Linux computer, which is weird to me, but I guess maybe not too weird, if you're used to RDP or whatever else, right? Like, SSH, what's this? But even though those same Windows shops, and even just thinking about your VMware experience, a lot of that is very click ops driven, and working within a shell and doing things the shell way is quite different. So there's a lot of differences here that I'm going to kind of outline on the technological side. There's the architectural and management differences. So uh, vSphere with vCenter is extremely monolithic, right? Um, Hang on, let me rearrange my display here. It's extremely monolithic. You've got vSphere, you've got vCenter. It's all very tightly integrated. It's very GUI centric. Whereas on the OpenStack side of things, it's extremely modular. There's a bunch of different sub projects within the OpenStack umbrella that we talked a little bit about at the top. Nova, Neutron, Glance, Cinder, Swift, etc. And those things all work together to form a single cohesive cloud experience called OpenStack. It's also very API first. So everything that you do in the Horizon, which is the user interface, or in on the command line with the OpenStack tools, or with an API, whether it's REST API or doing some sort of other API type call to REST, like curl or something like that. That all goes through the identity service. It's all API first, right? Like all those things are just calling the API. On the VMware side, VMs are a concrete set of files. You've got VMPKs and VMX and other things that start with VM. Whereas OpenStack, the VMs are more abstract. A lot of the components of those things, like let's say the volumes themselves, or the kind of machine identity, those are all universal IDs. And so it's not something necessarily named in a friendly way, right? Like, things do have friendly names, but deep down under the covers, it's all UUIDs. Of course, there's the hypervisor differences. We've got ESXi, which is a very tightly, uh, very small footprint that is effectively Linux underneath. And then OpenStack can run and mostly runs on KVM on Linux. OpenStack can also manage other hypervisors, but that's kind of outside of the scope of this. VMware, of course, as we know, does VMs and containers. OpenStack can do more. It can do VMs with its compute service. It can do containers. It can do bare metal. So it's more than just kind of the virtualization only product. And Chris, you can always jump in with questions, and I'm also not watching the chat much, so if there's anything there, just feel free to let me know.
I mean, this is one of those things where I have so many. I mean, our career paths are not lockstep, but very, very similar. They both rhyme, and so I have a lot of spicy takes from the aftermath of all of this as well. So that in and of itself is literally 6 hours of me and you shaking our fists at clouds. So I will refrain from doing that. I will ask one question. The bare metal management plane for OpenStack is literally named Ironic.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah. Ironically, it is.
My God,
I know.
That's perfect.
Somebody had to say it. That was the joke to begin with.
Dave in the audience is he is a VMware admin, and he was talking about how we desperately need a Rosetta Stone for the VMware people that are trying to speak OpenStack now. So he gets it. He also doesn't like it, but he also gets it.
Yeah. In the instructor-led thing that I do for work, there is a little bit of a table that I show that explains some of the concepts and how they map to from VMware over to our product specifically, which is a more opinionated OpenStack. But those same things exist, right? Like, what is a virtual data center in VMware could be more like a project or a tenant or a region on the OpenStack side of things. So that kind of mental mapping does exist, and it is kind of helpful to understand that. The paper out at openstack.org goes into some of that as well, which may be helpful.
Nice. And we'll put all these links in the show notes as well.
Yep. So onto networking and storage. So this specifically really stands out to me because there are very, very big differences. If we think about vSwitches and DV switches and not getting into the NSX side of things, VMware never really cared if any of the VMs on a port group could actually talk to each other, right? Like, you could have them completely different IP addresses that aren't routable to each other, and VMware didn't care, right? Like, that wasn't its business. It was literally just a switch. OpenStack is different, both in how it approaches networking, which is with a lot more modularity and with distributed agents and a ton of different flexibility in terms of segmentation types that you can use. But that also brings a lot of complexity too, or it can. It doesn't have to out of the box, but a real world install of OpenStack is probably going to be more complex, just because those things that VMware abstracted away, OpenStack makes more visible. And so, kind of back to that port group thing I just mentioned, on the OpenStack side, it does care about the IP in the MAC, and even the firewall security groups. Those are all assigned at the port, which is its own thing. And you could move a port from a VM to a VM and take the same MAC with it. You can, of course, move IP addresses if you wanted to, but that kind of management is at the network port level. It's not kind of disparate parts of the VMware ecosystem. VMware does VMs with persistent storage only. OpenStack can do them with persistent or ephemeral storage. Ephemeral means unless there's a persistent volume attached to it, once you delete that VM, it's gone. If you rebuild that VM based on kind of its original build specifications, and it's an ephemeral one, it will just be a brand new VM, and everything that was on it before is now gone. On the VMware side, of course, we all know VMFS, we all know vSAN and vVols. OpenStack has a number of different storage sub-projects. I would say that the two biggest ones that I'm aware of are Cinder, which does block storage, including NFS. So it does NFS, Fiber Channel, and iSCSI. And then Glance, which stores images, whether that's operating system images like ISOs or disk images or volumes that have been snapshot and then turned into an image. Glance is kind of that image store. And then Swift would do object storage. There's also Manila that does file storage, but I don't have much experience with Manila, so I didn't include it here. The other thing to kind of think about when we talk about storage with OpenStack, especially the block storage, VMware, you would carve off a block storage LUN, let's say a 10 terabyte LUN, and say, okay, here's my VM storage, ta-da. And then you could actually browse that storage and you could see all the individual files. OpenStack is different. Any volume that you create is its own individual LUN, and it is not friendly named. Again, it's that UUID underneath, and so you can't really tell what it is. And depending on how you manage your external block storage, there are ways that you can kind of bring some sense to that. Just through the naming, like folder naming conventions that you express as volume types or things along those lines. But it's it's different. Is really all I can say there. I did include vvols here. So the basic idea of vvols, as I'm sure everyone knows, but just for the sake of people who may not be too familiar with it, vvols would kind of assign the responsibility of storage duties to the external array. So VMware through the vvol interface would say, "Hey, here's storage array, for an example. Go make me a volume and do this with it." And then Pure would run off and do that and say, "Okay, here it is." OpenStack can kind of do the same thing. And so, specifically with Cinder, the control plane and the data plane are separated. So if you were to, let's say, create a volume, and it's a 20 gig volume, what happens is OpenStack would then talk to a hypervisor host that has that external storage role on it, and it would say, "Hey, go ahead and you know, please ask the storage array to create this for me." And so that host would go and do that work. And then once that volume is created, then whatever host that VM sits on, the data between the VM and its volume stays on that host. So there is a separation between kind of the control plane, the higher level storage operations, and the lower level just day-to-day VM using storage. So I hope that makes sense.
Mm. Yeah, totally.
If I explain that poorly, feel free to correct me. I'm tired. It's been a long couple days. Um, all right. So identity, security, and business continuity and disaster recovery. As we all know, VMware does centralized SSO with our back. OpenStack uses Keystone, which is the identity service. It's multi-tenant. It's true multi-tenant federated identity, which means that depending on how you designed your OpenStack cloud, you can have groups of users, or let's say business units, that have their own little slice of that cloud, and they will not be able to see any other resources in anyone else's unless you specifically set it up that way. VMware does data encryption at rest and in flight, of course. OpenStack can as well. There's a project called Barbican that does kind of secrets management and can handle that data encryption. Uh, Probably my biggest complaint about the OpenStack ecosystem right now is backup in DR. It's not anywhere near how VMware is today. There are limited backup and DR options for VMs, or even like service specific backups. If we're thinking about the concept of multi-tenancy, having self-service multi-tenant backup, right? Where, let's say, you say this group of users has the ability to back up their workloads that they provision whenever they would like. That capability hasn't. There are products that can do that, but it's not like a wide adoption thing. And from what I've seen, looking at the OpenStack backup ecosystem this year, it's really kind of hit or miss. And while there are OpenStack, or the while there are big backup companies who do have OpenStack support, native OpenStack support is still not something that's widespread. I know that Veeam doesn't have native support yet. They're kind of considering the market share of OpenStack before they make decisions. Rubric and Cohesity are working on OpenStack things. Commvault has OpenStack support. There's also Trilio and Storeware. Storeware, I actually met the CEO of Storeware this weekend, and their product looks pretty awesome. It's very, very thorough. But I will say, if you're talking about changing your backup vendor, right? Like that's seems almost a little bit more invasive than changing your virtualization provider, right?
Mhm.
Because of that backup history, right? Like, if you say, "Oh, well, everything before yesterday is on Veeam and everything after today is on something else," like, how do you recover the something from a week ago into your current environment, right? Like, it's a complicated thing, and it's just something that folks should be aware of.
Mhm.
Um, and also the concreteness of the VMs, it makes DR easier, right? So you can scan a LUN or an external data store and just pull all your VMs in. OpenStack, it's more abstract. A lot of the VM metadata is stored in databases. It's not stored as a flat file. And so there are considerations that you need to make when you're thinking about BC and DR, especially comparing VMware to OpenStack. I'm not going to say that like one is better, right? It's really just the world that you make, but I'm just trying to make these differences known. VMware is an integrated risk model, which means if something breaks, you can yell at them. OpenStack, it's different. It's distributed. It's a lot of different things, and since it is an open source product, the the fixing of something that broke could be on a vendor if you decided to get your OpenStack from a vendor, or if it's upstream vanilla, you've got to wait until you know bugs are fixed and pull requests are merged and things are released, just like any other open source product. All right. So next up is operations, aka breaking things at scale. So there's going to be new operational workflows with OpenStack. VMware was kind of single pane, sort of. You could do a lot of deep diving with VMware, but it was all kind of in one place. OpenStack, you've got multiple services that work together, and so quite often you may have to do kind of log correlation through multiple services. Um, so, for example, if you are creating a VM, there is a lot of kind of internal communication that happens on the OpenStack side, both making sure that those resources are available and then identifying the host on which to place that VM. There's different API calls, there's different logs for each one of those. And so if you're trying to figure out where something went wrong with VM deployment, for example, you're going to have to dig into a lot more places than just a single place. Monitoring, of course, is more spread out. Everyone's familiar with the vCenter integrated metrics or the vRealize or the ARIA stack. On the open source side, there's Prometheus, there's Grafana, there's the Elk stack, etc. There's a lot, but the good thing is that those other monitoring platforms are open and they're very flexible and quite often pretty easy to integrate with your existing platform. So, for example, Prometheus is kind of a metric exporter, so it just kind of makes metrics available that you can scrape and pull into other places. Updates are different, of course. VMware has very centralized patching of both the infrastructure and also to some degree the VMs. OpenStack is different. The updates to upstream OpenStack are twice a year. They're component based. And so what that means is that you may not necessarily want to upgrade your entire OpenStack cloud all at once. You may want to pick and choose what you do. Like say, oh, the Cinder support in this latest release picks up changes for drivers for the storage that I use, and I'll go ahead and update kind of that piece, but I'm not going to update the Nova, the kind of VM compute service, right? So there's more kind of operational things to understand in that regard. I will say kind of the last thing about operational workflows. In my experience, vCenter shops tend to be very change request based or catalog items, with some automation. OpenStack gives you the ability to allow self-service provisioning. Um, some people love that, some people hate it, but you can give users the ability to deploy things via API, CLI, or user interface. You can set quotas, you can set leases, you can set limits on things, and just let them go and do what they need to and provision off of your OpenStack cloud without having to involve IT in that kind of day-to-day operations. Automation and orchestration. So yeah, this is all different. As a former Power CLI enjoyer and still a PowerShell enjoyer, you can use PowerShell with OpenStack, of course, but just because you can use the REST APIs and kind of the native PowerShell REST commandlets that are out there, but it's going to be different, right? OpenStack it can use Ansible, it can use Terraform. Yay!
Woot, woot. I was literally just looking at the provider.
It can use Heat. It can do a lot of different things. A lot of the APIs and SDKs on VMware stuff was kind of like a layer over the various products. OpenStack being API first, it's very modular. Each service has its own API. And so if you're thinking about automating an entire workflow, you may need to talk to the identity service first to get an authentication token, and then talk to the compute service and the storage service, etc. Um, VMware did a lot of packaging through VApps or OVA and OVFs, which were just fancy zip files, in case anyone didn't know that, or GUI-based templates, but it didn't really have an all-in-one kind of declarative infrastructure as code thing built into VMware. At least it didn't the last time I saw it. It may have something closer to it now. OpenStack can be as declarative as you'd like it to be. You can define your infrastructure and everything that you deploy on it as code and version it and live a very happy life doing cool infrastructure things. VMware has a very extensive partner and plugin ecosystem, which VMware put a lot of effort into kind of managing that engineering interlock relationship and making sure that vendors did their certifications and submitted the results, etc. OpenStack being open source, a lot of that stuff is community. There are a number of OpenStack vendors in that space, like Red Hat, Mirantis, Canonical, my company. But drivers and plugins and things like that for storage specifically, those are all done by the provider themselves. So, for example, NetApp has their own driver for NetApp storage, and Pure has their own for Pure storage. And it's really up to that vendor to make sure that they are supporting all the things that you want to do with their storage. Um, s- Sort of the same thing with networking, although networking is a little bit more agnostic in the OpenStack space. But yeah, it's quite a bit different going from something that was run top to bottom by a corporation and something that's kind of in the open source universe. Governance and support, of course, is going to be different, right? VMware had commercial support only. OpenStack, you can get commercial support. You can also get community support and community-driven development. VMware's entire ecosystem was very tightly integrated. A lot of that was validated, right? Like we lived and died by the hardware compatibility list. It's different with OpenStack, right? You're going to have a driver-based frameworks. You're going to have to try to figure out what works specifically with your infrastructure today and what doesn't. And you have the responsibility of validating your own stack to make sure that it works. With VMware, licensing risk, of course, is a risk that you may have to take. Licensing risk for open source software is different. It's more about managing compliance rather than paying money to someone on a regular basis. So that's a little bit different. Next up is culture. So I put this little thing here that says, if he says DevOps, I'll complete the conference bingo card. No one laughed. No one.
Oh,
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like,
was it because they didn't have a French? It was a French sense of humor. You didn't trip over something. It wasn't Jerry Lewis style, so they didn't get it.
I didn't like curse God while smoking a tiny cigarette. Yeah, maybe that was what I did.
With a beret and a baguette and some disgustingly Francophilic. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. So cultural. This is probably going to be harder than everything else, right? This is all kind of layer 8 stuff. VMware, I believe, was very ITIL inspired. OpenStack is going to be more collaborative. It's going to be fewer siloed teams and more cross-functional groups. You're going to have API-driven automation as opposed to kind of tickets and change control. I believe OpenStack kind of provides more of an IT enablement mindset instead of kind of gatekeeping resources. It's how can I let you serve yourself and then let me worry about the bigger problems. Um, and with that, I think most importantly is going to be kind of the skills and community. Um, I personally think that it's a growth opportunity. I know that not everyone thinks this way. You know, people. I remember years and years ago, I was at um, a God, what was the thing called before? Oh man, it was Dynamic Ops was something that the VMware bought. It was the vCenter Orchestrator. Was that it? The
Oh,
Automation Center?
VCops, VRops.
No, VCAC. Remember the vCenter Automation Center?
Yes.
Gosh. Yeah. Um, I I remember sitting in that in kind of a weekend boot camp at a Barcelona VMware summit, and there was this older gentleman, and by that I mean he was older than me. He was cussing. He was like, I'm a Windows guy. I don't do Linux. Like screw Linux." But like I get it. I understand. It's something new. It's something no one likes change, but personally, I think migrating away from VMware is a growth opportunity, right? It's an opportunity for you as an administrator to learn something new, whether that's administrating Linux, whether it's working with REST APIs, whether it's doing infrastructure as code or distributed troubleshooting. It's new stuff, right? And so it's an opportunity for you to grow personally and professionally and to potentially even lead within your organization if you have an organization that allows you to do that. There's boot camps and training and certs available. OpenStack themselves has a certified OpenStack administrator. Some of the big vendors do have boot camps and training available. I'm personally targeting calendar 2026 to get some certifications launched at my company. But yeah, these are all things that are available now and are there for you to learn if it's something that you need to learn. There's also a ton of open source community and events. I mean, Chris could vouch for me here. There's a bunch of open source community. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting an open source community. It is they are everywhere. And they're
Are
full
we
of
going to
user
get
groups.
demonetized for that? I think we are. Pete is going to come after us. Thanks, Damian.
Gosh, fine. One of us can blip it, okay?
If you can say
swing
dead cat, I can say fuck. Okay,
Oh,
come on,
wow.
Jesus.
My mom is on this show, Chris.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
She says hi and then she leaves because she was trying to be nice.
Mom, you can text me if you heard Chris say the bad word, and I'll prove it to
him. Mom.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I guess the point of all the user group stuff and is just to say that like you're not alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. It's not you against the world, right? Like there are people out there that are going through this too. And I guess that's way back at the beginning of this. I talked about the amount of people that raised their hands. I was just surprised there were so many in one room. Like almost everyone there was like, "Yeah, this is me. This is why I'm sitting in this thing," instead of having a pint at 5 o'clock on a Saturday. So That's all I have for my talk. I hope it was helpful. I put this here. You already know who I am because you're watching me talk right now. But you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm at 6foot.dad on the Blue Skies. By the way, I deactivated my Twitter account the other day. Chris,
Deactivated it? You're not name squatting it so somebody else doesn't come along and grab 6 foot dad?
You know, I mean, I can always undeactivate it because nothing is ever really deleted in the cloud. But yeah, I just thought it was time, and it was time to walk away from Twitter. But yeah,
No, I get the bad juju part of it. I fully understand, not wanting to have that albatross.
yeah,
My fear is somebody will jump on Mistwire and then have, the 10,000 followers or whatever, and then use it for nefarious purposes or something. Use it as an immediate bot farm or something like that. So I just I haven't logged into it in forever. I just refuse to. I mean, and all of my data in there is like costing him something. So screw that guy.
yes. I should just like tweet the entire B movie script like every day.
Yeah, you know what? You totally should. 100%.
Take that, Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you ever hear someone claiming to be 6foot.dad trying to sell you some unique ape drawing, that ain't me, y'all. So don't buy it.
I already bought 3 T-shirts from that guy. He was trying to send money to his starving mother or something.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that was my talk. Thanks for listening to me, y'all. Thanks for dealing with my scatterbrained.
So what we'll do is in the show notes for this episode in particular, we will make sure that we have all of the how to study for and sit the OpenShift, OpenStack.
How dare you, Chris Williams?
OpenStack certifications, a translation dictionary from neutron to network, or Nova to network, whichever Cinder to storage, Nova to network. I'm so confused.
Fired.
And as an extra bonus, I will put in a couple of links that I pulled up on the Terraform provider for OpenStack and how to get started using infrastructure as code with OpenStack.
Yep. Ansible has a provider as well. I was looking at that earlier, which is pretty cool if you're an Ansible house.
And the native language for OpenStack is the heat orchestration templates. Hot templates are the things that you can use to, if you were not inclined to use Terraform, then you could use hot templates, and learn yet another abstraction layer.
Did you know that almost the entirety of OpenStack is written in Python?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Really? Is it really?
Yep. It's in Python. Yeah.
You know what? Now I might need to take a look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually heard there's been at least one. I saw a GitHub repo the other day. Someone rewrote all of Keystone in Go, which would be cool because I mean I gotta feel like Python is probably not the most performant language at scale, but it's also very easy to get into, right? So
it's killing me to say this, and this is the first time that I've admitted this out loud to the public. Python was my first language, so that is near and dear to my heart. But because I now work at HashiCorp, I'm starting to learn Go because that's what everything's built on: the providers, the core libraries, everything. Go's pretty badass. I mean, the fact that you can compile to any platform that you want to. The fact that I hated static typing before because I wanted the loosey goosiness of dynamic typing, But now that I know, I mean, now that I understand the value of pinning it and not having somebody put an int where a float needs to be or a string where a Boolean needs to go is and the type hints in Python are getting close to there, but you can still mess with it. Yeah, you can still you can still fudge everything in there. And so now I'm just like very dogmatic about my no. You can I don't know. I'm not turning into some like Go zealot or anything like that. But I am seeing the value of Go now, and I still love Python, but I do see the blemishes around the corners now a lot more starkly now that I have a compare and contrast.
Yes. I haven't written anything Go in Go, but I do spend quite a bit of time in Go repos trying to, identify where bugs may have, popped in, or where some decision was made in the code, and it's quite interesting. It's got a lot more shorthand than what Python has.
Yeah, the function signatures make it really easy to figure out immediately what's going on, like in the headers before you even get into the body of stuff.
Yeah.
And I will say, I mean, as much as I view side-eye AI, Claude has been really good for helping me to like decipher repos and explain things to me about what's going on in Go. So
yes.
Kudos to it just for that and only that.
And only that.
I'm not giving it anything else.
Do we have a giveaway for tonight?
We do. And you know what? Fudge. I didn't hit the.
Going to be between Fraps or Dave.
and just because I'm not going to give it to Fraps, I'm giving it to Dave. Game over, Dave. Congratulations. You have won the weekly $50 AWS compute credit gift certificate. You have pinged me before on LinkedIn, so ping me once again on LinkedIn and I will get those credits over to you. Congratulations, good sir. Yeah, thanks for reminding me, Damian. I would have totally spaced that. I was sitting here waxing poetic about Python and Go.
It's okay. When you're not here, I don't do the giveaway. So when you are here, I try to remember it, because I don't have any of those codes and I don't have your fancy picker program thing.
Dude, it's baked into StreamYard. You go to StreamYard/giveaway and then you hit the roll the dice button.
Listen, man, you don't know my life.
You don't know me. I'm not doing that.
You're not my supervisor.
You're not my dad. Oh my gosh. All right. Oh no, stupid Twitch bots. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Damian, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you being a presenter. Yes. I'm so looking forward to editing my own voice later. That's always a good time. We will see you next week when you'll see Damian and I once again, both of us on the other side of the microphone with our next presenter. So Have a good one, everybody, and have a great evening. Bye.
Thanks, y'all.